Hello, everybody. Welcome to CripChat, your weekly podcast for everything disability. Today, I have with me Ibby, Jonathan, Shar,
Hello.
Cunningham, and myself, David D.
Hello.
Today, we're going to be talking about the tales of strength of people with disability in Australia. And today with us is Antoinette Nakhle.
Yes, that's right.
Hello, Antoinette.
Hi, Ibby.
Hi, Antoinette.
Hi, David.
Onto you.
Hi, everyone.
Me now, David. Thank you
Yes.
so much. All right, so welcome everyone to the podcast this week. As David said, this episode is going to be about our loved ones. And of course, our loved ones, what we mean by that, we mean basically those who are our parents, carers, friends, family, and all those ones that are behind us. And of course, Antoinette is the famous mother of Lara Nakhle, aren't you, Antoinette?
Yes. Yeah.
Who was our first guest on the podcast this year. It was brilliant.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Yeah.
She really was quite something.
Oh, that's good. Thank you for this forum, and thanks for having us.
Not a problem, Mike. Now, so tell us about yourself and about your extraordinary life there,
Yeah.
Antoinette.
How
What's the
long
story
do we
behind
have?
you? Oh, well,
How long do we have,
not bad.
David? Tell me if I'm talking too much, because when you sent me the question,
don't worry.
Okay, yeah. When you sent me the questions, I looked at them. I thought, that's fine. And then when I actually sat down to think about them, it just took me back. It was like a movie reel, just going back in time, because
like a time warp, huh?
Yeah, like a time warp. It was and it's funny, when you start doing that, all the emotions start to surface, and I actually started writing down some of my answers, and I thought, no, because I could write a book about this, but we don't have time for a book today. So yeah, keep me on track, and try and keep me, to the point. If I digress too much, where do I start?
Well, Antoinette, just summarize it if you can.
I'll do my best. So firstly, I'm a mum of 2 children with disabilities. So my children are now 26 and 25 years old, and I'm 56. So I wasn't young to motherhood. I was 30 when we had our first child, Christopher, and we were so overjoyed to have a baby boy born, and he looked perfect, all the right things, the 10 fingers and toes, and beautiful looking, and we were so happy. And for the first 5 months of his life, he was just developing, doing all the right things, all the milestones. Every time we visited the pediatrician, he was reaching all the right milestones. We had no idea that there was something lurking there, that there was something wrong, until he was about 6 months, and we noticed he still wasn't sitting up, and he wasn't reaching out for little toys that we would give him, and so we thought we'd better go and check this out. So we saw the doctor, and he said it could be just a delay. So we waited a little bit more, and at that time I was talking to people that I was working with, and they said, oh, it sounds like maybe you should go and see a specialist. So we booked an appointment with a specialist, an eye specialist, and they tested him, they hooked him up to these computer, they had computer things stuck to his head, and in a dark room, and they did it's called an electroretinogram, and it just showed that it was a flat line, so he had no vision at all. And that was the first that we had actually that we were first time we were faced with the fact that our son was going to be blind, and that there was nothing that can be done. We thought, okay, doesn't see, what can we do? Glasses, operations, and the doctor was just shaking his head. So that was a confronting, our first lot of confrontations. And at that time we were living in Lebanon. So we're Lebanese by origin. I had moved, I had left Lebanon when I was 11 years old. But when I met my husband in New Zealand, he came to New Zealand, I met him there. We went to, after 5 years, we decided to get married. We went to live in Lebanon. So for me, it was a big culture shock going back to our, Lebanon, living there. And so to find that I was, away from my family, from my friends. My husband's family were there, and they were very supportive, of course. But then I thought, how am I going to raise a child in this country who is blind? So all these other questions were going through my mind. And to add to this, at that moment, the doctor told us, I would advise that you don't go and have any more children, because this is a genetic condition. So
Wow.
At that time, I was already 5 months pregnant with Lara. It was another, thing to take on, another, something to process. And in Lebanon, abortions are not forbidden. So the doctor just went, ahead and said, I would advise you to terminate the pregnancy. So again, that wasn't something that sat right with me. I lived in New Zealand most of my life, and to have a termination just wasn't something that I, would enter my vocabulary, So we said, no, we're going to go and have this baby no matter what. And luckily we got Lara. So
yay.
yeah. And so we went ahead. We left that the hospital on that day. As you can imagine, we were very gobsmacked with what we had just learned, and life was a huge turn of events. So I was 5 months pregnant with Lara. I wasn't going to terminate the pregnancy. So I was going to go ahead, and I'm thinking, she might also be blind. We didn't know her sex at the time anyway. I never like to know that because it just gives me that nice surprise when they are born. Anyway, whatever this baby's going to be, we're just going to have it. We're going to love it. it's here, it's going to stay. So, but what was going through my mind is that I would like to go back home and have this baby in New Zealand. So at 7 months pregnancy, so 2 months after we found out about Chris's diagnosis, packed my bags, took Chris. My husband couldn't leave Lebanon at the time because he had work, he had workers. I went alone to New Zealand because I couldn't travel after, being 7 months pregnant. So I had to go at that time. I had Christopher on my hands, Lara in my tummy, backpack on my back for all the baby stuff. And it was a 3-day journey at that time, 26 years ago. So, with a couple of nights of stay in Malaysia. And that was the fastest way you could get along across. Anyway, so that was my, we got to New Zealand safely. I met some people, just by coincidence, who were on the same plane that I knew from New Zealand, some Lebanese people that had traveled to Lebanon, and they were traveling back on the same plane. And it was like a godsend, so they helped me along the way. They held Chris while I would go to the bathroom on the long flight and things like that. So I felt like I was actually protected from day one. God was looking after us. We arrived in New Zealand safely. I carried on with the pregnancy, and Lara was born full term. My husband had come over to New Zealand at that time, and we had Lara, and it was a beautiful girl. You don't know about blindness, about this condition, until she is actually, she was actually one of the first youngest babies to be tested for Leber's congenital amaurosis, which is their eye condition. So we had to wait until she was 5 weeks old to be tested. And sure enough, when she was tested, it showed that flat line, that showed she was blind. She had the same condition as her brother, Chris. So we were faced with a few more decisions to make at that time. I decided, we spoke about it with my husband. I said, look, we can't go back to Lebanon. I can't imagine raising 2 blind children in Lebanon. I would like to stay here. I know that there are more supports here in this country, in New Zealand, and we'll have the family around and they can help us. And we spoke about it. He said, okay, I agree, we won't go to Lebanon, but he would like to come to live in Sydney, because Sydney has a lot more opportunities for his work. And so we agreed that we would come to live in Sydney. And here we are. We've been here for 25 years now. No regrets. It was the best decision.
And thank goodness you're here, Antoinette.
Yeah, and thank you, Australia. It's been a wonderful country. But with this came a lot of, look, admittedly, we were going back to New Zealand every year to visit our family. That was a promise that I had made. And so the children grew up knowing who, that their family was. They didn't get to know the Lebanese side until Lara was 16. That was the first time we were able to take her to Lebanon. We came here with nothing. We had to work hard, and we had to buy a house. We have to live. Travel wasn't something that we could do very easily, but the New Zealand trip was a must every year. So we were able to do that, and the children got to know the family that way, which was very, very important. And and that way, you know, we were given strength as well. You know, that the family is behind you. Doesn't matter that they're far away, but you hear those words of support. You know, to hear your family say, "We're here if you need anything," is so important. And to hear friends say,
exactly.
yeah, to hear friends say that you're doing a good job, that's so important as well. You know, it just gives you that propellant.
Reassurance.
Sorry, what was that?
That it gives you that reassurance.
Reassurance that you're doing the right thing, and it's just that word that means so much that you do long to hear as a carer, because you know you're doing things that you don't see other people doing, you know, with their children. You know, you don't have that measuring benchmark to measure against, because your children are so unique. You know, then you can't compare them to other children who are going to the same preschool, or your friends' children who are developing at their normal rate, you know. So it was really important, those trips going back and forth, but we were also developing great relationships here. You know, the early intervention that we received from Royal Institute for Deaf and Blind Children was amazing. They did great work with Lara and Chris to begin with. And that gave us hope about, you know, how they were developing. They were giving us the those benchmarks that we could, that we can see, you know, are they doing well? Support, yeah. And we used to go to play groups. Yeah, so you do feel isolated, but we were very thankful that we did have those support groups around, that they're very, very important to be connected with. Yeah, so and you know, each step along the way teaches you things and adjusts your feelings and how you're going, you know. I was also working at the time, and talking with people at work, having a supportive work environment is also great, because, you know, work gives you that little bit of a break away from the caring, and makes you feel like you are productive in what you've studied and what you've worked all your life in your profession. So that was really important to me. Yeah, so I was doing that when the children started going to childcare, and then, you know, I would drop them off at 7:30 in the morning, go to work, come pick them up at 3 o'clock in the afternoon, come home, do the afternoon routine, and you know, bath times and dinner and bedtime and all of that. So as a mum, you know, I'm very busy doing that. Rather, you have to keep these children alive and work, you know, every day. So you're not thinking about the disability all the time. You know, you're working towards raising these children to the best that you can. So yeah, you have to find that strength within you every day. Every day, you wake up, and then yesterday is yesterday, and today is today. You work for today. You just you start taking life day by day. Yeah, and you look for all those positives that your children are giving you. And then there are the, you know, the setbacks that that you face along the way as well. One of the first things that we're told with our children's eye condition is that it comes with the possibility of having kidney failure as well. So we had to do hospital test visits every year to test the kidneys. And that was something that I was, I would dread every year. Like, I would pray that everything is going to be fine. And every year we would go and things are okay. I have a sigh of relief that, yeah, another year is down, they're fine. Because the kidney thing was a life-threatening thing. The blindness wasn't a life-threatening. We can learn to live with the blindness, but to have kidney transplants and whether your body's going to accept them, and that complicates things a lot more. So for us, that was more of a worry. Luckily, we after 10 years of testing the children year after year, it was found that we don't need to do it anymore because it's not an issue. It's not developing to be an issue. So that
Amazing.
worry was sort of put to rest. And but then on the other hand, I was watching Chris and Lara, who are 14 months apart. That's the age gap between them. By the time, Lara, Chris was 3 and Lara was 2, I could see that Lara was sort of developing more than Chris was. We got specialists involved, and they started testing Chris. By the time Chris was 4 years old, we found that Chris had intellectual delay and autism. So that sort of started us on another journey of, discovery. What does this all mean? How do we cope with all of this? We had to go down the path of, clinicians and psychologists and psychiatrists and medication. And that at that time was just really hard to deal with. The word medication, to medicate your child at the age of 5, or I still don't like to take medication myself. I refrain from taking Panadol till I'm about to die. So to come to those, accepting that you're going to have to give this medication to your child is really hard. And then we had to accept it, because to help him deal with himself, with what was going on, to help him deal with these behaviors that he was starting to develop, like hitting his head on the floor and things like this, I thought I would rather give him medication than to see him crack his skull, or break his bones. So some shifts in how we think. We had to make those adjustments as we went along the way. And then it wasn't just medication. Some medication was making him worse, and others. So we had to do trials of different things. And to see him go through all of that was really difficult. So schooling came along, and sending Chris to a special needs school was also hard. You imagine that your children are going to be fine, are going to grow up and be like everyone else, and they're going to be this or that, when you come to the realization that they are actually special needs, we have to deal with them in a different way. It's also confronting. But you move on, because
Yeah.
what's more important is that they are healthy, and you, as a mum, as parents, that's all you can do. You just keep them healthy and keep going and give them everything that they need to survive and to live and to thrive. Yeah, sorry, you were going to ask?
Antoinette, yeah. Like I was just keen about it because I myself am actually partially blind,
Oh,
in my right eye. So,
okay.
so like for me, I've only ever seen out of one eye, like myself. And so I was keen to ask you just like how, I mean, how have you actually managed to deal with how you support your kids, like confidence in their body image and how they view themselves as young people, because it's an important, I mean, that's an important aspect of our lives, is how we view ourselves. So, I mean, how's that been for you with having both your kids like that,
Yeah.
being blind?
I mean, Chris isn't quite aware of, because of his intellectual disability, he's not really aware of his self-image as such. On the other hand, Lara began asking questions, like she would, just from touching somebody, she would think, oh, this is a thin person. Oh, this is a big person. She's got no sight at all, as you know. And she would measure herself, and she'll think, oh, I'm a bit more on the thin side, or whatever. So she had a bit more of an idea of how she might look like. She's always had people say to her, oh, you're beautiful, you're pretty, when she was a little girl. And as she grew up, everyone, the first thing they say to her, oh, you're so beautiful. So she has got this idea about about herself, that she fits in from that realm, in that realm of humanity, about that she's not a bad looking human being. It's more then it's more about how she fits in socially with people. And she started experiencing difficulties when she got to high school, because that's when those kind of things really get a bit tough. As you know, these days it's all about Snapchat, and it's so visual. There's not much conversation that goes on, but the girls would sit in a group at lunchtime, say, and they would looking at these photos on their phones, and there's not much feedback for her because she can't see what they're seeing, and she would feel isolated from that perspective, that she's not able to contribute to any of those conversations. And and while her friends started talking about boys and someone that they might have seen that was nice looking or something, she did not have that point of reference in her life. Her life was taking a different form. She's moving, all her life she's been more involved about her self-development, because she wanted to be as good as everyone else. I'll just backtrack you a little bit about Lara. One of the first, decisions about Lara was going from preschool to school, was that they, the people from, they assessed her, and they said she probably needs to go to St. Lucy's school because of her vision impairment. And we weren't sure about whether she had any developmental delays at that time. So we enrolled her at St. Lucy's, and she went there for 1 year. At the end of that year, she had learnt Braille, she had shown that she's not exhibiting any of those behaviors like with developmental delays, that she needs to be in an environment where she can thrive and grow. So she was then transitioned to mainstream school and went to mainstream schools ever since then. So and primary school years are really fine. The little children, they embrace you the way you are, and everyone gathers around you because they want to see, they want to help. But as you grow, that sort of starts falling away because they want to be with girls who are more like them and don't want to be with someone who is blind. So in a way, it sort of helped her get more into what she can do. And that's when she found her love for music and singing. And so throughout her school life, she was in choirs and she started singing solo, and that gave her so much. That gave her a presence in her own right. Music was so important. That didn't come easily either, because with coming back to a parent with 2 children with disability, getting her to even, you're dealing with 2 different disabilities here, and you have to balance the 2. And I don't have family here to help me. My husband's family is not here. So another major decision we had to make with Chris was to start accepting overnight respite for him, so that on the other hand, I can take Lara to do some extracurricular activities like swimming, for example, swimming lessons. And then as Chris was growing and he was showing more challenging behaviors, it was hard for me to care for him at home. My husband was working, he had his own business. He wasn't really, he would come home every night and relieve the children from my hands, after dinner and whatever. But all of that school hours and after hours I had to deal with. So I had to find some way, and my help was having to accept overnight respite for Chris. And so, as I was saying, his challenging behaviors became more and more severe. So we ended up having to enroll him in the one and only boarding school at that time, and now that has closed. It's Kingsdean special school, but the government closed it because they would not fund it. So that was a major backward step, I think, for parents of children like Chris. For me, that was that sort of saved our lives. We only did it because we were in crisis at that time, and that with him going Monday to Friday, staying there, 4 nights a week, that gave me the opportunity to be able to give Lara a few more things to do, like taking her to piano lessons and singing lessons. So that and through that avenue, you see where she is now. That gave her the grounding for all that music that she got behind her, that helped her in her school years and until now. So
Anthony, I'm gonna just pause it for a second. I'm just gonna actually ask the team whether they have any questions. Guys, got any questions? Let's throw it open to everyone.
Yeah, thank you for that, Cunningham. Anthony, how's it going? such a amazing independent woman to be able to support both of your children and watch them grow over the years. You say that your family has supported you. So what was I guess the community's reaction or towards your children, watching them grow up? How did they, I guess, fit into the community?
Yeah, it was a little bit difficult. Yeah, because it's not just the one disability. Like the autism part was quite challenging. We would find that we can't say we couldn't go to church without Chris, all of his behaviors, exhibiting all of that. For example, the church is quiet and there he is going off. So we ended up not going to church anymore. We would go visit our family, but we would, our extended family, we have some uncles and aunties and their children here. When Chris got to an older age, we couldn't really go there because we can't, his behaviors might mean that he might break the glass table and that they have, their coffee table or their little ornaments or something like that. So that really isolated us from being able to do things. Our outings were mainly going for drives, going to the park. But then the greater community, the disability community we're still finding out about all of the services. The schools that he went to were great. We utilized holiday programs for him, so that I can do some other things in the school holidays with Lara. So dealing with two different dynamics of disability, it was a bit tricky. You have to find what's suitable for Chris and then what's suitable for Lara, and being together in the same place just was not right for them.
Antoinette, David D here.
Yes.
Just wondering, when Lara was younger, I know kids, they don't have much filter.
Yeah.
Was there many questions that really upset her, which would upset you?
When she was younger, no. You know what? We've never made a big deal out of her blindness. Like, from the beginning, we just said to Lara, it's just the difference is that they can see and you can't, but you can do everything else like they can, wherever possible. So she grew up not really feeling as if she is missing out on much, I feel like I'm a walking documentary. Whenever I'm with her, I'm always explaining things to her. If we're walking through the shops, we've just gone past Kmart, we've just gone past the news agency, we've just gone, and like now, if we're going past, we're going shopping, she can tell you, we're going past Kmart, because she recognizes it by the smell. She knows a news agency by the smell of an agent, or or the sound of what Coles sounds like, or so she's got we were able to just fill in the gaps with as much information as we can, so that she's not missing out. So I thought, she's got ears, she can hear with. I'll give her as much information through that medium as I can. And so her awareness of what goes on around her is quite great, you know, quite good. Yeah, so some questions like, you know, yeah, it doesn't hurt her when people say, oh, are you blind? Oh, you can't see, or you know, that doesn't really affect her, you know. And if they have any questions, you know, she answers. She seems to handle those quite well. Yes.
Would you need to explain to people, like when they first meet her, how to actually describe things to them?
With support workers, yes, I do go through kind of my own list of checks, you know, just saying, you know, always
Got to do that.
You know, don't just assume she knows that there's a step there, because she will fall if you don't tell her. You know, if you're taking her in the community, just explain what's around you, you know. And I tend to spend a bit of time with support workers before I send her off with them, so they get a bit of an idea about how I deal with Lara, how I work with her, how I guide her, how yeah. So yeah. Once, you know, there was this little girl, one of a cousin's daughter, and she's known Lara. We tend to meet as a family once every 2 months or something, and she really likes Lara. But the innocence of children is just amazing, you know. Like this girl, she knows Lara was blind, but next time she saw her, she said, "Lara, are you still blind?" And Lara would just laugh at that, and she'll just say, "Yeah, I'm still blind," you know. Yeah, so she's.
Don't worry, I get that too. I get that from my nieces and nephews.
What Lara doesn't like is, you know, sometimes people start crying when they see, you know, they meet her and they have this reaction of, oh, I'm so sorry, you know, like, and then they have this, you know, Lara will say, Mum, why are they saying sorry, you know? And I explain, you know, oh, they're just saying sorry because you're blind. And she'll say, but that's okay. I'm blind, but that's all right, you know. I'm fine with that. Why do you have to be sad? So
exactly.
She's quite well within herself about her blindness. So sometimes
like,
she's
like
others.
So Antoinette, like, is there a particular moment that you can actually point to being one of the most greatest highlights you've had with having both Chris and Lara, with having blindness? Is there a moment that you cherish the most of looking back at it all?
You know,
like so far.
Look, Lara gives us the first, you know, I remember the first moment, first time I heard Lara play a song on the piano, and she played it from beginning to end, and I didn't even know that she can play piano. And I thought, wow, you know, she taught herself that. She did that all by herself, by ear. And here I am, I'm sighted, and I can see the keys, and I can't do, you know, Frere Jacques, you know, like I can't, you know, do a simple song. Here she is, somebody who can't see, and she's figured this out, and it just really gave me so much hope for the future that I You know, I thought, you know, here we are, we think we have to be whole to be able to, you know, to do stuff. And yet she proves to me every day, every single day, that, you know, her strength, what you can do without sight, what you can do with being brave and courageous and having, you know, lived through adversity, I guess, you know, with her life being so different than what we know. And the same with Chris, you know, with all of his challenges, with not being able to talk and not being able to see, not, you know, so communication is such an important aspect of our lives. You know, you might be blind, but as long as you can communicate your needs and everything, that's, you know, at least you get your needs across. Somebody can understand you. With Christopher,
that's exactly right.
Autism and not being able to communicate, I think that puts you in such a world that is that much more difficult. Because imagine if you feel like you're not understood, and how you're going to get your needs, you know, to be able to live, to survive. And he has taught us so much about how to deal with that kind of disability, with autism, with intellectual delay, and he has proven that to us, that he does understand, because it took us such a long time to learn that, you know, he's not just somebody who sits there and we talk about him. We actually have to talk with him and see how he reacts to the conversation, to see, and he proved that he actually does understand a lot more than what we used to give him credit for. And now all of his support workers use that kind of communication method, just reading his body language and his patterns of behavior to understand him and to communicate back with him. And we're getting so much better outcomes from him every day.
That's been really amazing. Like so Antoinette, would there be certain words you'd give to achieve, like fellow parents out there, would give them a hope and comfort and a bit of strength as to how they could actually best cope? Like, what would your advice be to the carers of Australia, if you have a chance to tell them what you'd think?
Yeah, I think, you know, don't look at life as in years and years and years and years of caring that you're going to have to do. Look at every day on its own. Every day is a new day. We cannot guarantee that we're going to live, you know, another 10 years, 20, 30. So let's not worry about them. Of course, we have to plan for the best. So today I plan to accept the supports that are around me and give my children all the help that they can get, and enjoy today for whatever positives you know, it has given us from all the efforts that we have put in today. You know, enjoy those little gains every day. Don't expect, you know, miracles to happen every day. Every little gain will build on you know, on your child's growth and progress. And one day you wake up and you'll see them grown and doing well, and that they're happy. You know, that's all we ever, you know, you might go and get 5 degrees, you might be the best professional out there, but if you're not happy, what's it all for? So the main thing is to see them happy in whatever form that they are in, you know. So for Chris, he is happy now. He has a day program. he goes to do activities and swimming and goes to the gym, and he's got beautiful carers around him that are like his mates. He's happy. Yeah, he's not going to become an accountant or a lawyer or a doctor. That doesn't matter. He is happy in his own self. He's not damaging himself. He's on medication that's helping him. We have to accept that. We have to. Lara's happy. She has her struggles with studying, but she's paving her ways. She'll voice her concerns if there are issues like about accessibility and things for the blind that are not quite yet there to help, and she's probably creating that pathway for the people in the future, so she is helping them in their own way, and she's also happy with her achievements, so yeah, that's all we can ever strive for, is making sure that we're doing our best, and that kids are actually happy and what they're achieving.
Antoinette, thank you so much for joining us today. You've been amazing. It's been a fantastic chat. And look, we want to actually say thank you to you for joining us on CripChat Australia today. Remember, guys, please like, comment, share, and subscribe. And we'll catch you all next week. Thanks
you.
again,
and
everyone.
Thank you all for your great work. You're amazing. You're all doing great jobs. Thanks, guys.
Thanks so much, Antoinette.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.